who you used to be, it's lonely. We gotta speak life over ourselves. Who gonna do it for us? Thank God that we ain't nobody. That we can just sit on our phones and critique. It's very easy to have opinions about someone else's life. Let me say that again. It is very easy to have opinions about somebody else's life. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Brandy, aka Miss B, and welcome back to another episode of Give It Grace podcast. If you're new here, my name is Brandy, and this is the space where we talk all about grace, okay? The kind we need to learn to give to each other, and the kind we have to learn to give to ourselves. People don't just watch your life. They judge it, okay? They judge it too. And they analyze it. They critique it. They will literally pick it apart. And it gets even heavier when you're trying to grow, okay? Speaking from experience, it gets even heavier when you're trying to grow, especially when you're trying to grow in front of everyone. First segment of our show is called Give Them Some Grace. And this is when I talk about a person of influence or a celebrity or just someone on social media who's really being dragged out here in the social media and media streets. And we together see if we could possibly give them some grace. So the person that I want to talk about today is Chrisean Rock. Okay. Can we respond with grace instead of judgment? Is really what we're trying to do. Can we respond with humanity? So if you are on social media, then you already know Chrisean Rock is constantly getting dragged. Constantly. Right? And lately, I've been just seeing a lot of criticism surrounded and centered around her motherhood. And I have to pause and really think about this because yes, we know Chrisean has made some mistakes and she has made mistakes very publicly. And yes, she does seem, or her life does seem chaotic at times. But can we also acknowledge this? She's a young mother just trying to figure it out, okay? And let's not ignore the fact that she's from Baltimore, okay? I lived in Baltimore for 3 years. Baltimore, okay? Not Baltimore. Baltimore for 3 years, right? After 3 years, you're definitely going to be seeing Baltimore, right? So that's rough in itself. And if you understand anything about certain environments, you understand that people don't always come from stability. They come from survival. They come from trauma. They come from lack. They come from just having to figure life out the hard way. So here's what I've been noticing. At the same time that people are criticizing her, okay, about her relationship choices, about her motherhood, what I see is that she's also showing something else publicly. And that's her faith. She's talking about God. She's singing about God. Yahweh, Yahweh. Y'all know the song. And she's really starting to, what I believe, to be leaning into something that's bigger than herself. Right? And I remember when I actually found out that she was pregnant, I remember thinking in the midst of people having all of these opinions, I was like, that baby might change her life. that baby might be exactly what she needs. We are actually starting to see that shift happen in real time. And that's what people don't always know how to handle. They don't know how to handle growth, right? Because when someone starts changing, people are used to the old version of them. And that doesn't always give them room to evolve, right? Thank God we don't have to live our lives under a microscope. Thank God we don't have to grow publicly, right? And here's the part that I need to say very clearly, okay? We have got to stop bringing up innocent children into our criticism. Her child, her beautiful gift from God, did not ask to be here. That child did not sign up for social media opinions. And one thing we are not going to do is weaponize a child to attack a parent. Because really, that says more about us. And let's be honest for a second, right? Most of us, we do have the luxury of making mistakes in private. We have the space to grow quietly. No one's really checking for us. No one's, there when we're making all of the mistakes that we're making. We weren't trying to figure life out and aren't trying to figure life in front of thousands and sometimes millions of people watching us. So imagine trying to learn how to be a parent, trying to heal from your past, trying to build your faith and grow just as a human being, as a woman, all while the entire world is critiquing your every move. Like, that's heavy. And again, thank God that we ain't nobody, that we can just sit on our phones and critique. So instead of dragging her, maybe we can ask, am I allowing people the space to grow? Or am I holding them hostage to who they used to be? I don't believe that grace means ignoring mistakes, but it does mean recognizing growth, right? So let's together give Chrisean Rock some grace. She's growing. She's learning. And we're definitely going to stop talking about her child. I think that we can do that. I think that we can. The next segment of our pod is called Give It Some Grace. And this is where we talk about everyday annoyances and things that just get on our nerves. And see if we can look at them through a perspective of grace. Let's see if we can give it some grace, okay? Before I get into this topic, I want to start by saying I am not a mom. I don't have any children of my own. I am a dog mom, but I don't have any children of my own. So I'm not sitting here speaking from experience. I want to get that out the way. But I am speaking from observation and hopefully from a place of empathy. Because one thing I've noticed is that it's very easy to have opinions about someone else's life. Let me say that again. It is very easy to have opinions about somebody else's life, especially when you're not the one living it. And especially when it comes to parenting. People will say, and I have myself said, like, oh no, looking at moms like, oh, she probably shouldn't be doing that. She shouldn't do that, or I would have never did that. Oh no, when I become a mom, I ain't never do that. And I have said that myself. But the truth is, none of us really know what we would do until we're in that position. You don't know the pressure. I don't know the pressure. I don't know the emotions. I don't know the weight of being responsible for another human being. I think sometimes when we speak so confidently about things that we never actually had to carry is where we go wrong. A part of it comes from this illusion that, if I was in that situation, then I would do everything right. But we know life doesn't work like that, right? When you're parenting, again, speaking from not a parent, you're navigating your past, your environment, your mental state, your resources, all while trying to be a parent. And from the outside looking in, it's easy for us to judge because we're only seeing a small piece of the story. Matthew 7, verse 3, I think it is. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but fail to notice the plank in your own? Okay? That's a check. Because it's easy to point out when someone else is doing wrong. So I think we could give it some grace. We can give all of the parents that are just out there just trying to figure it out some grace, because these kids, I don't know how y'all do it. I don't know how y'all do it. Here on this podcast, we can definitely give it some grace. So the last segment of our show is called Give Me Some Grace. And this is where I talk about a personal story or a personal struggle where I could have given more grace or received more grace. So the topic that I want to talk about today that I am constantly navigating every single day of my life is outgrowing who I used to be. Because if I'm being honest, outgrowing who you used to be, it's lonely. It's lonely. But here's the truth. When you start growing, you no longer are who you used to be. And at the same time, you're not fully who you're becoming either. So that in-between space is very uncomfortable. It's where it's like you're trying to do better, right? But you still slip it at times. You start to think differently, but you still battling old habits. Like it's this back and forth tug of war that you playing with yourself, right? And if we're honest, that space can make you question everything, especially yourself. While you're still growing, God already sees who you're becoming, and that's powerful. He ordered your steps. He is a light to your path. And let's talk about this too, okay? Because there's another side of it where sometimes people won't even acknowledge your growth. They want to still bring up your past. They still reference your old mistakes. Oh, remember you used to do X, Y, and Z. Oh, but remember you did that? Remember you did that? It's like they'll still treat you like you're the old you. And that can be super frustrating because some people holding on to stuff that God has been moved on from. So sometimes we got to speak life over ourselves. We got to speak life over ourselves. Who going to do it for us? So if you're in a season where you're like me and you're trying to grow, you're trying to change, you're trying to do better, but you still feel like, you're not quite there yet, I want you to remind yourself the way I remind myself, I'm not where I used to be. And guess what? I'm not done yet. And that's enough. That is enough. Because grace isn't just something we give to other people. Sometimes it's something we have to speak over ourselves every single day. So that means you give yourself permission to grow. You give yourself permission to evolve. You give yourself permission to make mistakes. And most importantly, you give yourself some grace. I think we can do that. I think that we can. So if you stay to the end of this episode, I'm sending you love, light, positivity, and grace. And all I ask is you share it with somebody if you found it valuable. And I will see y'all in the next one.